Now we're recording. Go.
I'm going to start strangling people. Let's leave this in, shall we? All right. Welcome to the 5th episode of the Fandom Flux podcast. I want to strangle myself. Hi, I'm KCW. With me is King of Zero X.
Hello, and welcome to the Fandom Flux podcast.
And Ethan.
I think Casey wants to kill me.
Yeah. And Kenchi.
Greetings and bienvenue.
Yay.
Gratuitous.
What you doing? First topic, let's just get this going. I don't care anymore.
All right, well, what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to perk up Casey, and also I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to pay these awful student loans without getting my legs broken. And aside from that, I've just been working on some stuff. Haven't really done anything too physical fight-wise lately, so I'm just chilling for now.
Mm-hmm. Unlucky with the loans thing. I don't have to pay mine back unless I start earning. So, in a weird twist of fate, as long as I'm unemployed, then I'm not in debt.
I hate England so much.
It's like you're in some kind of state of suspended animation, except instead of like ice, it's money.
Yeah. I'd say I'm not complaining, but I'm complaining because I want a job.
I don't like you right now. I don't really have an earning job. Like, by January 1st, I'm going to be stretched super thin, so I'm trying to build up what I've got now.
Mm.
It's horrible.
Okay. Anything else you doing, Kenchi, other than just drowning in a pit of debts and...
No, I'm just wallowing in my sorrows, basically.
Oh.
Well, Kenchi, I think that the best way to deal with loan sharks is, how you deal with regular sharks. Punch them in the face.
I'll remember that.
I'm pretty sure that's been proven not to work, but sure. It might work better on loan sharks, actually. So,
Also, see if you can tire them out, because sharks die if they stop swimming.
Mm-hmm. So just tie them up.
All right, let's move on from me.
Yeah.
No more shark puns.
So you could say that this is the Finn old shark pun.
Oh, that's some biting wit you have there.
Yeah, this is going swimmingly.
I hate all of you.
Casey, wipe that toothy grin off your face.
Oh, this is great. This is going much better than last time. All right.
It's going swimmingly.
We did that.
I think I already said that.
No credit for that one. We did that one. All right, Ethan, do you want to go next? What have you been doing?
I kind of have a lot of stuff I want to cover. All
right, we'll do Zero first, and then we'll do me, and then we'll do Ethan, because he's going to not show up for about half an hour. Zero,
okay.
What have you been doing?
So, this week I've just been working on a couple chapters, just kind of slightly, multiple chapters, not really haven't got anything complete, but got some concrete ideas down. I got Wind Waker HD for the Wii U. That's fun.
How many selfies have you taken?
I actually, I just got the color pictograph thing, so now I can actually take color pictures. And I'm just waiting for, the perfect moment. That game's actually, it's very streamlined compared to the original. It's a lot faster with a lot of the animations and everything. It just moves quicker, and I like that, and it looks beautiful. It's a very good game. Yeah.
I found it kind of interesting how they got the idea to just go out and make a remake, which was just they started plunking stuff from the original game into the Wii U engine and thought it was kind of interesting, so they just kept adding more and more.
They were actually working on the new Zelda game, and they're like, hey, let's work on the Wind Waker for practice. Just get used to it. And then they were like, oh, well, let's turn this into a full thing.
They actually got distracted by shiny objects.
Yeah.
It sounds like something I'd do.
Yeah.
So, also this week, I was at work yesterday, and I work at the local Kentucky Fried Chicken. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a minimum wage job.
High five for minimum wage. I work at Kmart.
Yeah. So
actually, Kmart that's near my neighborhood actually closed down, so...
Yeah, that was important information, Ethan. You were saying, Zero.
So we got new gloves recently, like heat gloves, which you use to move trays or anything. And I'm taking a the chicken out of the hot, oil
Grease.
8-head thing, right? And I'm taking it out, and a chicken breast falls down inside it, right? So I have to get that chicken breast out somehow. So I take every long thing I possibly can, and I'm just dunking it in that oil trying to get it out, and it's not working. So eventually I remember back when I first started, they dropped some tongs down in one of the 6 heads. And what they did was, eventually to get it out, was they put on a heat glove, and they reached down in, and they tried to get it. So I put on the new heat glove, and I tried to reach down in. But what I didn't realize was that the new heat glove had a small hole in it right near the front of it, which the old one didn't have. So 350-degree hot oil came into my glove. I ripped it off, and then my arm just completely burnt.
Is it nice and flaky though, with a crisp perfection?
It's off to chew on it?
Yeah.
So,
I knew how that story was going to end the second you said heat gloves.
Yeah.
I thought it just wasn't going to be that heat proof, and you just burn slightly from inside. But no, you just got right in there, and
My hand got burnt too, but my hand's actually working a lot better now, so now I can actually write again. But it's getting better, but it's still, just burnt arm.
Well, at least you'll smell like chicken for the next 6 weeks. That'll be fun.
I think I already smell like chicken probably.
Also, if you find yourself deserted or stranded from a broken down car, you can just gnaw on one of your fingers for sustenance.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the interesting event of my week.
That was a pretty interesting event. I'll give you that. Yeah.
It's kind of hard to top boiling alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fried your own arm.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Kentucky Fried Cannibalism.
Ooh.
If only I had flour on my arm when I did it.
Yeah. Oh, I thought that's what you would have used to beat out the flames with.
Do you think the skin would still be the best part?
Well, I mean, you've got all those bones to get in the way of it, though.
Yeah, I guess people are a lot more bony than... Yeah.
Did your family keep eyeing you with this huge vat of special sauce?
My dad's been nonstop saying, well, hey, I got an idea. I'll just stick my hand in this oil. This burning hot oil. And he just takes every chance he can to laugh at me.
Did you at least get to go home?
I got to go home. I had to, wait until the next guy came. So for, 30 minutes, I just had my burnt arm, and I'm just, rubbing ice on him. Oh, man. It's we need you to make more chicken. I can't do that right now. I got an arm that's,
You try and flip him off, but you cry out from the pain.
Oh, I had to drive home, too. With
I was about to ask that.
And it was so painful. It was just excruciating. And then I had to get into, CVS and buy some aloe vera. My boss gave me money. He's here's $20. Just buy yourself some medicine. And so I go in there. I'm give me some aloe vera. And I just, rubbing it on my arm. This is good.
I feel like I would have given you the money just because seeing that spectacle would have been worth $20.
Thank you. You put on a good show.
Yeah, just buy yourself something nice. Anyway, Casey, what have you been up to?
How do you follow that?
I know. I have some interesting stories, and I don't think I can follow that.
Okay, well, I watched that Ganser Bridge that we talked about at one point. I think it was last week, or was it the week before? I don't know. It was not great. Hasn't exactly wowed me on the whole abridged series thing. So, take that as it is. I also watched Pokemon Rob do his thing again this week with a very special episode. He played a Nuzlocke run of a special hack of the game that a fan made for him. Basically, Fire Red, only every Pokemon only knows Metronome.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, that was pretty special.
How's he been doing so far?
It was a one-off because he's going to start streaming XY next week, next Saturday. So that's going to be fun. But yeah, he got to like the first gym, and it turns out all the gym trainers don't actually abide by the rules. So they have real Pokemon that know moves, and then he's sitting there using Metronome and getting Sand Attack all the time. And Splash. He did get Splash once. Unfortunately, he did not get the bane of all Nuzlocke runs and get self-destruct by accident. That would have been just magical, but it never happened.
That'd just be lobbing cutesy grenades.
Yeah. Oh, that was good fun. But yeah. That's what I've been doing this week. I think that pretty much covers it.
Yeah.
So, Ethan. How was the Con-Con?
It was interesting. I kind of want to start with this was probably not necessarily the highest point, but definitely something that sticks out for me. So at the convention I went to, which was Anime Weekend Atlanta, or AWA, the abbreviation, you go up to a booth and hand them a little receipt you filled out that has like how old you are, what your name is, and your address. And you go and hand it to them, and they'll give you a little bag of stuff like events and a magazine that gives you all of the high points and such. And I was just like sitting in a corner going through all that, and I found this little business card, and it was just a little glossy, small 1x2-inch business card. And I looked at it, and I realized it was a hotline for anonymous STDs.
What, offering them?
No, just like if you have, I think it was like if you have sex while at the convention and contract an STD, you can call this place anonymously and get help.
Oh, right. Okay.
Because, nerds are always going at it.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah. I actually thought about going on to Craigslist to see if there were still any, shout-outs for it still up. But after that, I just kind of met up with some friends that I knew were also going, and we just kind of hung around. And the first thing I hit was the dealers area, because I knew if I was going to go ahead and blow up most of my money, I might as well get it over with. And I mostly just bought a lot of video games. I bought some DS games and a mint copy of Final Fantasy IX, which I'm playing through right now and is very enjoyable.
Still have my old one.
Yeah. There's an annoying engine somewhere. I assume it's coming from Kenchi, but I don't bother trying to fix it or anything. But that was loud for a while there. Anyway, moving on. So,
all right, you
bought a load of games and stuff.
Yeah, and then we kind of went around for our first panel, which wasn't necessarily one we were invested in, but we just did it to kill time. And that was dining and tea set etiquette.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why?
It was just
at an anime convention?
Well, I mean, if you look at Oron and all of the kind of shoujo stuff, there's a lot of fanciness.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was a complete disaster, if you couldn't tell already.
Was it a disaster because it was boring, or was it a disaster because it was a ridiculous panel that no one wanted to be there for, so they just fucked around for an hour?
The latter.
Ah, cool. Those are fun.
Yeah. It was basically these three, I'm sure they were totally nice people, these three ladies, and they just came up and were totally ill-prepared because they had just come from some sort of fashion show that was about a mile down the conference hall that we were in. And it was just them swearing like sailors and generally being mocked by the peanut gallery.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And,
still sounds like fun.
Yeah, it was fun. And after that, we had lunch, and then some friends of mine wanted to do this Axis Power Italia panel thing, which was just a bunch of people talking about their love of Italian. I'll admit I was interested if only from an observational view, because I never got into Hetalia or anything.
That's the one where, like, all the countries are personified, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we didn't make that, so instead we did this other panel, which actually sounded really interesting, and it was how Japanese culture got diffused to countries like America, which sounds really interesting because I'm really into, like, socioeconomics and human geography and that kind of stuff. It was not interesting at all.
Okay.
It was just this really dull lecture. And, like, people were getting up and leaving while the conference was going on. It was terrible.
That's a bad sign.
Which was bad because it was really interesting information. But still, it was just terrible. Yeah. And finally, I just kind of sat down and started waiting in line for this voice actor panel that, you know, because the voice actor panels are always the really big draw of conventions. And it was really interesting because it had, amongst others that I can't remember the names of, Chris Sabat, Vic Mignogna,
Cool.
Todd Haberkorn, and Johnny Young Bosch.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's a good list.
Yeah, but and there were some others as well that I can't remember the name of. And unfortunately, they didn't allow for character stuff for the questions, which I found kind of depressing because I kind of had this idea for a question between Vic and Johnny where they play Junpei and Seta and they fight over the last slice of pizza at a party they're at.
Okay. Yeah, I think they would have punched you if you asked that.
Oh, well.
Just saying.
I didn't ask any questions because I couldn't think of anything interesting.
Yeah. Voice actors tend to not appreciate the whole, oh, please do this voice and do this line, please, please, please. I love you forever.
Well, I wasn't necessarily asking for a line. I was asking for improvisation.
I guess.
Yeah. And after that, I wanted to do this other thing which seemed kind of interesting, which was like a murder mystery. But it was getting late and I had to head back to my hotel. And then I just went home the day after.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was anyone else cool there, other than the voice actors that you mentioned?
No.
No?
There were a few, like, bands, but that's it.
Bands?
What
Yeah. Like,
bands?
like some J-pop bands.
Oh, right.
Come on.
Yeah. And there was an AMV contest, which had some interesting stuff. Like, one of the ones that sticks out for me is this one that was High School of the Dead, and they used a swing version of Down with the Sickness.
Weird.
It was really good.
There's a swing version of Down with the Sickness?
Yeah.
There's version of everything.
There's something for the link dump, I think.
Yeah, it was really good. It was really good.
Swing version.
Yeah. And there was other one that it was like this really hard, like medieval style anime with a lot of blood and guts in it, and they used the Gaston song from Beauty and the Beast. And it was awesome.
Well,
And
okay.
that's about it. Oh, yeah, and there was also this guy who made a replica of Tom Servo.
I don't know who that is.
He's from Mystery Science Theater.
Okay, I still don't know who that is. I don't think we got that show over here, so.
You missed out. Anyway.
Yes, Britain is deprived sometimes.
Well, that's about it for my neck of the woods, my very strange and isolated neck of the woods.
Oh, or Ethan's all alone.
Wouldn't go that far. Anyway.
Let's bring out the tiny violins for Ethan all alone. It's sad.
Anyway, on to our next subject, which is our love for Attack on Titan.
Yeah, that show's good. I think that covers it.
Also, I just want to point out that Kenchi and King Zero are riffing about the Grease story in the chat.
Yeah.
Zero's Kentucky Fried Limbs, only 7 pounds, limited stock, everything must go.
Original crispy recipe. Oh.
If it was crispy, I'd have thought about it.
Yeah. It's the original, the real deal. Anyway, I have to admit,
Yeah.
Attack on Titan, I just find it interesting because it's one of the few shows, if possibly the only show, that I've watched that I have to sit down and be like, okay.
Yeah, you need to take a breather after watching it for a while because it gets to you eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said the same thing last week. It's a pretty heavy watch.
I know, it's surreal. Well, and I mean, I was able to watch Akira all the way through, and that was hard. Especially the final act.
Still haven't seen it, so I don't know.
It's really weird.
Yeah.
And I find it funny because, like, the first intro is, like, this really heroic and, you know, just this very heroic song about, yeah, we're going to slay all the Titans, and then you watch the show and it's like, oh. This is
we're the
happened.
hunters and they're the prey. Yeah.
No. Other way around.
Yeah.
That's actually the first lines
in fact,
in
literally.
the opening.
Yeah, but the thing is, the thing I like about it, you know how every show, like 1 in 5 shows nowadays are zombie shows?
Yeah.
This does the zombie thing better, in my opinion.
Can you call them zombies, though?
They are effectively zombies. I mean, they're
Giant
creatures that don't seem to have much of an intelligence that just bust into your home and then eat you. And that is their only driving purpose as far as anyone knows.
Yeah. We're going to try and make this as non-spoilerific as possible, by the way.
Yeah, so Titans are like, you know, minimum of 4 meters tall, maximum, for the most part, of about 15 meters tall.
Yeah.
Always wearing these weird rictus grins on their faces.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. They can look so silly, but they're still terrifying.
That's horrifying. I saw the first one that you'd see properly, and it creeped the fuck out of me.
And then there's the Moe Titan.
Yes.
Moe Titan. You're gonna have to...
You know that one with the really big anime eyes?
Yes.
Oh,
Searching up
yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I saw that, I didn't know whether to laugh or just
Wet yourself?
step back.
It reminded me of Pluto the dog from Disney. I don't know why, but it did.
Yeah, and yeah, that's another thing about the show. It's one of those ones where you don't really know when you're supposed to laugh. Like, it tells jokes, and you don't know when to laugh at them.
Yeah, I don't think I laughed at all through any of it, except for those, like, special episodes. They're like 5 minutes long, and it's all cartoon chibified.
Yeah.
Those were good.
There was one time I laughed, and that was the first time I ever had any real exposure to Attack on Titan, and it was this gif of the female Titan spinning that guy around.
Okay. I don't get that. I guess it's like supposed to look like dancing or something.
No, well, I mean, it was just like that scene out of context, and I had no idea what was going on.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Having not seen it, so you're going to have to link that so people know whether to laugh or not.
Oh, well. But, yeah it's just it's funny how that's what's become popular on the internet, because it came out of nowhere.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, we Westerners tend to like our serious anime for some reason.
Yeah, and already it's getting stuff like video games and movies.
I can't even imagine a game based on that. I guess it'd be kind of like Shadow of the Colossus.
Oh, I was thinking more like Spider-Man, like the big sandbox where you do missions and such.
Shadow of the Colossus combined with Spider-Man.
Ooh.
Yeah,
there you go.
That sounds like a fun game.
And swords.
And maybe Monster Hunter.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. It's on the 3DS.
Then there's the, if the part with the human titans, you could have a little bit of Pacific Rim thrown in there, too.
Yeah. I remember that's something that kind of clicked with me a while ago, is that it's the first organic mecha anime.
That's true. Yeah. I had thought about that. That's very true. Because they're, like, technically piloting them, I guess. Yeah. Strange.
Very fleshy.
Yeah, it's kind of gross. It doesn't shy away from...
Let's not flesh out this subject.
We did the pun thing. We're not doing the pun thing again. Yeah.
No.
It's not very punny anymore.
None of that. Shame on you.
I think we've bitten off more than we can chew.
Again, I'm pretty sure we did that pun. No, we didn't. We did biting wit. Yeah, that was a different one, in fairness. I'll give you that one, but still, we're not doing the pun thing anymore. Even though we've done like 3 of them. We're not doing the pun thing anymore. Yeah, the show doesn't...
Casey, I think you're late to the punchline.
Does that count as a pun?
I don't know.
Did it have...
Pun.
I don't know what that would be next. So you made a pun about doing puns. Really?
Yes. Yeah.
It's punception. Someone had to say it.
No one had to say it.
Yeah, I had to say it because I couldn't help myself. All right. Yeah, it doesn't shy away from being very in-depth. One guy actually gets eaten and you see him inside the thing's stomach because it's like, 15 meters tall, so it's huge.
Yeah.
And there's someone still alive in there. And
along with him.
Yeah, and they're slowly being digested, rather.
I'm just curious why no one's ever thought to cut out.
That's a thought. I mean, you could just... they heal quickly, but they wouldn't heal that fast.
Yeah, all you'd have to do is maybe do an X slash and kick through.
Yeah, those swords are supposed to be super sharp or whatever.
Yeah. And besides, even if you didn't have the strength, you could just use your maneuver gear to give yourself some extra momentum.
In fairness, though, you did just get eaten, which has got to be some kind of scarring. Think about it. Plus, you probably chewed a bit, so you've lost limbs, maybe.
Yeah, I was about to say, you do need to be lucky enough to have been swallowed whole. Which has happened, but it's a very slight chance.
It happened, but I think that was intentional at that time, so... We're getting a little bit closer to spoiler territory, so...
Yeah. I do have one spoiler I want to talk about, but I'm going to go ahead and mark it here, so that way anyone who doesn't want to hear the spoiler can skip. Like, Casey, when you post this, you can give a time range for when we start and stop.
Alright, that means I've got to... That's more work, but fine. Sure, whatever.
Alright.
Also, if either of you two guys who haven't seen this want to see it, maybe you should just, take off the headsets or whatever.
Spoilers don't bother me. Go ahead.
Okay.
I've actually seen all of Shingeki no Kyojin and read the entire manga, so...
Yeah.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
Did anyone here care about Marcus? When they found his corpse, did anyone care?
Which one was Marcus?
Exactly.
Yeah.
He was the one that John stumbled upon?
Yeah, there were 20 characters, and they all introduced all of them, and I didn't remember any of their names. I still don't remember most of their names.
Yeah, I was about to say, the way I can tell when a character's about to be eaten in Attack on Titan is okay, so they give you a name and an interesting character model, but nothing else. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. According to I forgot what he looked like, so I went to the wiki, and it says right here, his death serves to illustrate the grim reality of life for the soldiers, as even the most talented can meet an ignoble end while facing the Titans.
Yeah, and I had to remind you guys who he was.
Yeah, he's... Yeah. It's more he's dead.
No, not that guy.
Who is that guy?
I don't know, but I like the cut of his jib.
I think he might have owed me money or something.
Yeah, okay. So...
Also, Hanji might be my favorite character just because she's so crazy.
Again... Oh, is she the doctor woman?
Yeah.
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 She's a little bit off the wall. But in an interesting way, not just ooh, I'm so wacky, in a
it's
holy
more
crap, she's kind of nuts kind of way.
Not the stereotypical, oh man, I'm such a kooky character.
Yeah, I'm so zany.
Look at me, I'm a mad scientist. Wahaha.
No, it's more...
No, she is very unhinged, and it's made very clear that that's true.
Very.
It's an obsession over anything else, and it's interesting.
Yeah, which makes the bonding between her and the protagonist well constructed.
Yeah, I do like her kind of defining character moment where oh god, I can't believe I forgot his name. Aaron. There we go. Where Aaron asks her about her research, and then everyone besides the two of them just get up from the table.
Yep, and walk away.
It's just not even Levi can stand it. It's just I'm gone.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we done with talking about Attack on Titan now?
I guess so.
Yeah. That was good.
And this is the end of the spoilers.
Mm.
Okay, so the next subject, King Zero, this is more yours. If you'd like to introduce this, you kind of want to talk about supporting characters?
Supporting characters and the act of not ignoring them. It's what I see in a lot of things is that a lot of people, when they are writing, they'll introduce or they'll use the whole cast of supporting characters. They'll be like, here, these are all these characters, and then they'll just kind of shove them to the side and like, we don't care about all these characters.
Yeah.
They contribute nothing, according to what I say, and then they just focus on everything else. And I feel like what I do with my stories is I take the supporting characters and I make sure to give them their own motivations, their own reason for being there, and kind of explore their own development alongside the main characters.
Yeah.
And that's something that you feel that everybody should be aiming to do, because it is a world that you're basically writing for, and when you just focus it around two people, I mean, it's not bad, but it can be a lot better when you show that not only are these main characters being affected by everything, but the characters on the side are being affected by these events and being influenced.
I suppose it depends on what you're trying to do. I mean, if it's short form, then you can be forgiven for just ignoring all the little people, as it were, and just focus on a character piece. I mean, you don't need many supporting characters for that. But if you're going to write something long form, then you need a cast. You need people who will be doing things on the side, so it's not just all about this, like, one person or two people just doing everything and saving the world or whatever they're going to be doing.
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of Sufix come from, is that they kind of just are like, this is my character, look, everybody loves them. And that's the end of the character development for the entire cast.
And if you don't like it, I'll take my ball and go in someone else's yard.
Yeah. And it's, what I do is, for example, in my, fic, I've got, you've got Cease for, like, Persona and everything, Persona 3. And, even though I'm having, like, Minato and, Aigis and Mitsuru and all these people are doing things, I've still got, like, Junpei off to the side, and Junpei's got this whole quest to become a real hero, and he's like, I'm going to slowly rise to the top. And, like, having those little side things, it not only keeps the story interesting, it also allows for, better future developments that involve the whole cast rather than just, it helps a person connect, the reader connect with everybody on a deeper level when you... Talk.
Damn it. That's why I kind of like how in Face Every Shadow there's like the little isolated sections for social linking. So that way you can have Seta talking with each character from the cast in their own isolated moments.
There's a defined setting for you to be able to expand on the supporting characters.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit artificial, but it's there and you can use it.
Yeah. I mean, I've already given some pretty decent stuff for, like, Kenchi.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I find him an interesting character to begin with, so...
Yeah, people tend to focus on the characters they like more than just writing characters because they need to be portrayed and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, there's also the fact that no one really seems to write Kenchi either, or at least write him properly.
Yeah, I wasn't being specific there, but okay.
Oh, well, either way.
What I did with my story is I was PMing somebody the other day, and I realized, I kind of split my story into sort of seasons, I guess. And the first season, although it is focusing on a lot of the characters, you really had at this main conflict between Mitsuru and Minato. And that was the main sort of thing. And then I'm like, okay, well, I focused on these characters a good amount, and I focused on the other characters, and I've been building them up for something big, so I'll do those things in this sort of season, I guess.
Yeah.
Where the seasons is until the next big boss fight, essentially.
What?
And so... Yeah. What were you saying?
Nothing, I was just kind of talking to myself, sorry.
Okay. So...
Yeah, let's talk to ourselves when we have an audience. Or supposedly have an audience. Yeah.
And, yeah. So, I feel like what you can do with supporting characters is that you can build them up in the beginning. You don't necessarily have to give them the spotlight from the get-go, but you can build them up in the background, and you can develop them, off to the side. But as long as you don't ignore them, they can grow and they can become a vital part of the story.
Yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, like, if you do have, like, these only 3 or 2 interesting, let's go ahead and say it, interesting characters that you've developed, and then you do something dramatic for them, then you're only left with 1 and a bunch of little pawns.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you do from there? Because you haven't developed them at all for the entirety up to this point.
Yeah. So it's always best to have those characters, they are people that you're kind of illustrating, that they are people. And they have their own lives and their own conflicts or motivations, and the events shape them just like they shape the main cast. And if you, show that, then you have a lot of stuff you can actually write. You've got a lot of places you can go, a lot more possibilities.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, I actually have something I can criticize about Kenchi for once.
Yeah,
it's a rarity.
I was about to say myself. I was about to criticize myself on this.
And I'm only doing this because I'm over here in Europe and you're over there.
No, you can criticize me. Go ahead.
Like,
Kenchi can run across the ocean.
The Seal Kunai, the one that you said was like really not so great at the very beginning.
Yep.
Yeah. You didn't actually focus very much on supporting characters at all during the course of that story. I mean, you focused on a couple, but I think that was partially because they were sort of kind of half paired with Naruto. Mm-hmm. I mean, you focused on Taiya a lot, and Yugito, and the assistant girl. I can't remember what her name was.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah, you focused on them a little bit, and then Jiraiya, and that was about it. And everyone else was kind of shunted to the side, more or less. And then whenever you wanted a big fight scene, I mean, they were already pre-built to be like fighters from canon, so you didn't actually give them much development. You just let it kind of happen.
And I feel like that's something I feel like the developing supporting character is something that you gotta like improve on over time.
Yeah,
like, it's sort of a thing you grow into. Like, because I completely realized that in Seokunai I did an awful job of setting up supporting characters. And then I think in Better Left Unsaid I did a better job, or I'm doing a better job of setting up secondary characters.
Yeah.
And then in the last one I just started like a few months ago, like Great Clan Days, that's the one I really plan on getting into a lot of secondary characters and motivations, because it's basically like I rebuilt the world from like there were no villages ever really formed.
Yeah, so you have no like canon backgrounds to fall back on. Yeah. You've got to restructure everything.
Yeah, so I have to put everyone. So that's one where I have to actually go into depth and show why everyone's the way they are, why they're doing these things, why they're in these places, and all that stuff.
Yeah. If I can jump in for a minute to recommend someone who's really good at making sure there's some nice little bit characters that are interesting, Terry Pratchett, the guy who does Discworld, is very good at having just little minor characters that seem very round in their own little world.
I mean, if you look at Death from that series, I mean, he's kind of like the ensemble dark horse for the whole series. He's very, very rarely in it, but he's got a massive following just because he's so interesting as a character.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, if you read the first book he's in, which is The Color of Magic, and then go to, say, Soul Music or Hogfather, you see how much he's developed in that short time.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying I'm particularly good at it either. I mean, it's definitely a skill you have to develop, like Kenchi said. I mean, I'm learning a little bit, getting a bit better at it. You've got to be able to get into different people's heads, as it were. You've got to be able to shift your perspective to how someone else would think.
Yeah,
that's very important for developing a varied cast.
And personally, I did a lot of acting at my school, starting in 6th grade. I did it for about 6 or 7 years of just acting. So I'm I'm actually pretty used to getting into characters' heads, and that's what's really helped me with writing. Is that I have to basically, essentially, sort of become the character, yet keep myself distant enough from them that I can actually write it.
Yeah,
and do it well, because it just gets you have to understand, what would my viewpoint be if all these things in the past had happened to me? How would they shape who I am and who I would become?
Yeah.
And, doing that with supporting characters especially, who the majority of them don't really have a lot of, developed backstories, you kind of have to sort of create a sort of a backstory in your head for why they are the way they are, and then go off that.
I do kind of like writing social links, because I do find it's very good practice for that kind of thing, where I'm just able to sit down and think, okay, so I've got these two characters, and one of them needs to go somewhere, so let's start with that.
Mm-hmm.
Because it really is, because even in the original game, social links were just kind of them expositizing their problems towards the main character.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I said, it's very artificial, but it can be a very good way of just, practicing that skill of varying a cast and coming up with new, interesting ways to develop characters.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what it's for.
Yeah. Kenchi, do you have anything else you'd like to add to this?
No, not much. You guys pretty much hit everything that's for to talk about it. I threw my stupid 2 cents in, so.
Okay, good. So, now that we've got the really serious stuff out of the way, it's time to take a little breather with this more lighthearted subject, which is, what gets your goat when it comes to fan fiction?
Grammar.
Oh, yeah. That's obvious.
Grammar,
I mean, that kind of
what's something you personally don't like? Birds fly, fish swim, people on the internet hate bad grammar.
Let's see.
I always find a story really needs to be readable more than anything else.
Yeah.
And...
So you're saying it has to have good grammar?
I'm saying not just grammar, but, it needs to be not a solid wall of text or anything like that.
Yes.
It needs to... I feel like a good story needs to really be formatted so that it's more accessible to people. That always gets on my, nerves when it's just somebody writes a solid wall of text of 500 words and then that's a chapter.
Okay, let's clear some things up. Grammar, punctuation, formatting, we'll call those a given, and we'll just move on to things.
How about, I actually have two that I'd like to bring up.
The first, maybe also universal.
Yeah. The first one would be good story idea, bad execution.
Yeah.
The disappointing kind. So it's you think, oh, that's a great summary. That sounds like an interesting idea. I want to see where they go with this. And then it's blah, 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 and they have no idea what to do with it.
Exactly.
You're like, there's all these possibilities, and they choose this?
Exactly. There's actually a trope for it. They wasted a perfectly good plot.
Yeah. Just you to know the exact name of the trope.
Hey, man. I don't think I'd be the same writer if I didn't have TV tropes.
In fairness, yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, I don't know where I'd be today if I didn't have TV tropes. Granted, where I am today is still TV tropes, but...
That's... I'm not sure whether that's sad to just have TV tropes define your life that much. I can't tell. Oh, poor Ethan.
Whatever. I don't care. What was the second thing I was going to bring up, pet peeve-wise? I forget. Anyone else have anything while I'm trying to jog my memory?
Dialogue.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, dialogue.
I hate that.
Yes.
I hate that
when it just gets stiff sounding, or when it just sounds awkward, or you can tell when the dialogue you're just like, a real person wouldn't say that.
Yeah. That's my main thing I'm doing as a writer, is that when I sit down and I know I'm going to have a big conversation, I go, okay, humans sound like this, and I make sure they sound like this.
Yeah, I have been working on my dialogue too. It's something that you definitely you want them to say something, but you need to take into account how they would say it.
Yes, you need to make sure their conveyance is good.
Yeah, and it can get tricky at times. I think I've improved on it a lot recently.
Yeah.
But there's still like also dialogue scenes where there's multiple characters. Like you have more than just two people talking, but you have a whole cast of people talking.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, I want them to say this at the same time, but I can't do that because then that would do this. But I want them to say this and this and this, and they all want to input their 2 cents.
Whenever I write a scene like that, I just like to think of it as maybe, like, say if there's about 4 or 5 people, I like to think of them as just sitting around a big table and kind of shooting the shit with each other, and just kind of the chemistry from there.
Yeah, it's just, I find that in a lot of, you'll find in some stories that people are just, there's a whole bunch of people in a room, and they're like, main character, and then 2 just are talking, and everybody else is just like, I'm just going to be quiet for no reason.
Well, I mean, if you feel like you know everything, you might as well go ahead and say it, Mr. Know-It-All.
Yeah, I mean, having an interruption like that would actually make it a lot more interesting. But it's it's a little bit of a pet peeve when, not so much that people, they have trouble with dialogue, but when they do dialogue and then it just comes off sounding wooden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When they don't use like conjugations or just it
just kind of ruins the immersion.
Yeah.
That's word of the day, immersion. I'm going to try to bring it up as many times now.
All right.
Large amounts of not English language
Immersion.
in the dialogue.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I was just about to say, when they just randomly use Japanese words for no reason at all.
Yeah.
You mean you don't like that, Casey Desu? I will say.
Do you even know what desu means?
Yeah,
Does
actually.
it mean anything?
Yeah, it's supposed
It means
to be
like is.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like something you say kind of to be a little polite.
No, in a lot of conversations, you say, it's like desu pen. It's like, this is a pen.
Oh.
It's like desu, putting in desu everywhere makes no sense whatsoever.
I will say this. Thanks to the internet, I can't even listen to people say kawaii in the natural tongue and not cringe.
Yeah.
I hate it. I hate that word.
Like, I'll drop gratuitous romanji in scenes like for like fighting techniques.
Yeah.
But I can't do it. Like, I'll drop a kami every now and then, but I'm not gonna throw out.
And I didn't do well enough in my language classes to be able to do anything without it sounding gratuitous.
Doesn't help that half the time it's wrong anyway.
Yeah. Just figures, how much Japanese does everyone here know?
Like 10 words.
Enough to get me thrown in jail.
I'm not even sure I want to know what you would say.
I know a bit, Just not that much, but enough to say good morning, what's up, I can count to 5. Yeah.
And now this blind rage has made me forget what I was going to say for another pet peeve I was going to bring up, so thanks for that.
You're welcome.
I could bring one up.
Okay.
What?
Trying too hard to be funny.
Yeah.
The bane of every internet.
In fairness, I was going to actually bring up an example from one of my works where, like, I think it was like the second chapter I ever wrote. And it was like the main character was like getting distracted by a pretty girl on a TV screen. He was like, oh no, I'm going to miss this train. And he runs headfirst into the wall on the inside of the train. Because slapstick, yay.
Slapstick in a novel, that's always a good idea.
Yeah. Does work sometimes. I think I did a better example recently, but yeah. That, it's annoying, and it kind of kills the pacing of the story. Just trying to shove comedy in there where it doesn't belong.
Sometimes it doesn't work. You try to do something that you think's funny, and then it'll end up being like, why did you let that person do that to him? Just for the sake of the joke? That's not in character.
Yeah.
I once actually had something I was writing. It was going to be actually really just kind of mean for the sake of trying to be funny. And, like, my beta, before he magically disappeared, he was like, dude, that's completely out of character. I was like, oh, yeah.
Characterization, that's important.
Forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back, changed it, and it, ended up being okay. But you gotta be able to catch things like that, and it's not catching it is it can lead to some very angry reviewers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're going to be angry no matter what you do.
Yeah.
So it's just like, do what you can to make them the least amount of angry.
Ish.
I haven't actually had really many angry reviewers. Like I try to keep everything polite on my stories, and it actually somehow works. So when people say, "Oh, you made this part wasn't so strong," I'll be like, "Thank you," and then I'll go back and I'll see what I can do, and I usually end up fixing the problem, and then everything turns out fine.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I've had angry reviews, but for reasons completely... Like, recent chapter of Harry Potter Game of the Year, I killed off Hermione. Briefly, she came back to life, but...
I'm not quite dead.
Yeah, I was thinking...
I'm not dead yet.
Yeah, let's not do the thing, yeah. I was like, okay, this is probably going to get me some flack. People are going to be mad that I killed her off. And then I get a review, and it's like, I can't believe you let her come back to life. That sucks. I hate this character. You should go die in a fire. I'm like, what?
It's just no pleasing some people.
You can't win if you're going to try and please reviewers. It doesn't work.
That's why you should just develop a detached air about it, like you don't care.
Just write for yourself over anything else.
I do this for me. I'm not getting paid for this.
Yeah.
If I was getting paid for this, I'm not sure how I'd do, but still.
This is the equivalent of me playing a video game. Just pass my time.
Yeah.
And take my mind off my miserable, pain-filled existence, filled with injuries.
This is getting surprisingly real.
Yeah.
Okay.
He just starts down at my job, at my college.
I am real.
And my dog pissed in my cornflakes.
Whoa.
Why were they there in the first place?
What were we talking about?
I don't know.
Can we
Pet peeves?
Try to get back on topic just a little bit?
I think it's time to switch to the next subject.
I have some pet peeves.
And that would be motivations for your characters.
Motivations. Always important.
Kind of goes in with the supporting characters thing.
Yeah. My acting instructor, my acting teacher, what she said was... whenever you're moving from one place to another on stage, you have to wonder why. What's your character's motivation for doing that? Every action has a motivation behind that. Why do you move over there or why do you move over there? There's a motivation behind every single action that a person does. And, when you can understand that to an extent, I feel like it can actually help a lot in writing because then you can say, okay, what would their motivation be? What would they... what gesture would they use here, and why?
Sorry, had to yawn.
I think that really depends a lot on, like, the way your plot's going to go. Like, if you don't, like... Let's see, how am I going to explain it? Well... No, that's not going to work. I'm sorry, I'm just saying things and don't know how to back them up.
Yeah.
Like, like motivations. When your character is motivated to do something, of course, it has to fit in with the plot. But I think the thing what you have to do with your writing is that you have to make it so that so that they have the correct motivation to go the way that the plot is going to make them go. For example, if you want a character to be the big hero or something, what's their motivation for being a hero? What's their motivation for saving people? Because hardly anybody ever is like, you know what? Today I feel like just going out and randomly saving people.
I'm going to go blow up that fortress right there. Yeah,
that kind of thing.
And if they do, if they are like that, and they're like, I'm just going to blow some crap up, you can have motivation for that too. As in they really just want to blow crap up.
Yeah.
And even that will sometimes work, but...
I guess what I find a little bit more important is how you're going to test those motivations.
Yeah.
So if you're going to want them to be a hero, you're going to have to say, okay, if you're going to try to be the hero, this is what could go wrong, and this is why you shouldn't do this. And they have to weigh their motivation with, what else could be on the line.
So basically the hero's journey.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
I think a good conflict that usually helps establish your motivations for your character. You had to have something set against them, and you've already stated what their motivation is going to be. Here's what would get in the way of them actually going through with it. Say, your hero thing, this character wants to be a hero. He wants to do the right thing, but what if the right thing would put someone else in danger that he cares about, or he's put in a situation where he has to do something selfish, not so heroic, at the cost that if he does not, someone he cares for or something else he has strong feelings about will be destroyed or something. We'll lose it. Situations like that.
Yeah, and I feel like even if he chooses to not do the right thing, or if he chooses to do the right thing, either way, it's going to affect his character development, his hero, and it's going to ultimately shape their future motivations. So necessarily they don't have to come up victorious. They can still lose and still, try to be their own type of hero.
Yeah. And I suppose another good thing is how well can they pick themselves up from their mistakes.
Because there are you're really testing and stretching the endurance of your character and their willpower.
Yeah.
The most basic test for any motivation, especially ones for being a hero, is the characters facing death, their own. So, at the most basic, if they have to decide that whatever they're fighting for, whatever they're trying to move towards, is it worth their own life? And the answer could be no. And then they'll have a crisis or something. And then think, okay, am I even going to try and go for this anymore?
Yeah.
That can make an interesting story on its own. It doesn't always have to be this is what I want and it has to be this way and this is how the story's going to go because this is what the character wants to do and they're going to get it because that's what the story is. Sometimes the character loses and sometimes they lose as an ending and that's it. That's equally valid.
Yeah.
In my story, sorry, Ethan, but
no, you go first.
It's in my story. It's I start off with Minato, and he's basically kind of going on his own sort of hero's journey in a way. And I say in the beginning, I have Philemon, basically say you're going to have to make a lot of hard choices in the future. The way that things are going out, it's an AU type fix. So the way things are going, they're far different from how they should be. So things might turn out better, but you're going to have to make a lot of hard decisions in the future. And that's what I'm going to try to, test him with in a way.
Yeah, and this is something I'm kind of doing with Seta in our story as well. But I'm kind of, and this is something we're going to lean more towards as we get to later, more important plot points. But I'm kind of writing him as someone who is thrust upon the call, but doesn't want it at the same time. The only reason he's doing it is because there's no one else he knows of that can step up and do the same thing.
That's pretty much the motivation. Just, there's no choice.
Yeah.
He gets it done, and he's free to do whatever he wants after that. Kind of thing.
But if he was given a choice, he would drop it in
a heartbeat, yeah.
Yeah.
Not exactly a nice character that I've written, but,
I feel like that's how a lot of people would react in real life if they were given this decision, though.
Yeah.
So I kind of just emulate myself when I'm writing him. Just an ass, really.
Yeah, if you want to write realistically, this is, again, I hate to bring it back to Attack on Titan, but this is something that I think they did really well. Which was, 99% of the characters in that series are not heroes.
they don't want to be soldiers, but they're doing it for a paycheck. So when things get really, really tough, they will bail.
Yeah. Like,
I love that because that is reality. There was actually an experiment done to test exactly that. It was like they put 40 people in this situation where, like, an authority is telling them to do something that they know for a fact is wrong. And only 3 out of the 40 actually went out of their way to try and stop it, like calling the police or anything. 3 out of 40 actually did the right thing.
God.
Yep, it's a bleak
Well,
outlook, but it's...
I mean, like, in
reality.
Attack on Titan, I'm trying to think of people who would just want to be the wide-eyed enthusiast soldier, and I can only think of 2, maybe. Because, like, outside of the main 3, there's not really anyone out there.
I mean,
Yeah.
like the Recon Force or whatever they're called are pretty much like that. That's about it.
Yeah.
They're like the crazy ones anyway.
Even then, they still put other people's lives at stake if it means saving their own.
Trying to think of when I've seen like really bad examples of like really skewed motivations or just like all over the place sort of motivations. Because I've seen some of those. I know I have. Like you can tell when you've seen something that's like.
Hello?
Hello. No one is available to take your call. Please call again.
Okay. I think we're all starting to get a little depressed at this point. Maybe we should change the subject.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to touch on the Square Enix thing we were talking about before we got on.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Final Fantasy 13.
Well,
when you
we kind of have to introduce the subject first, King.
Yeah, basically it was just like, what point during Square Enix run did you drop off on their whole Final Fantasy journey, if you want to call it that? Like, did you drop off in like the SNES area with the 4 and 6, or the PlayStation with 7 and 8, I think it was?
And 9.
And 9? Okay, 9 was on PS1.
Or the PlayStation 2 era with 10 to 12? Was 12?
10 and 12 was on
12.
PS2. I think
12
11
was on
was on 360.
Yeah, 10 through 12, and then the PlayStation 3 onwards. Those are kind of the big eras. How about we go ahead and start by setting our foundation for saying when we drop?
All right. I dropped at 10 too, and the reason I didn't drop it at 10 is because I didn't buy 10. Like, I went through 10 for the sake of beating it, and I rented it. It didn't blow me away, but it wasn't like a crap fest. 10-2 just completely killed my Final Fantasy boner forever.
Interesting way to word it. King?
Yeah. I actually one of the first Final Fantasy game I really actually played was 13.
Oh.
Yeah. I went back and I played 1 and 2, you know?
Yeah.
But 13 kind of... I didn't even finish that game. Like, you get through 11 chapters, and then you get to this one point, and it's just... Okay, now you're open world, and all these side quests are thrust upon you, and you have absolutely no idea. Just like, why did it take so long for this to happen? The game's been so linear until now. Like, I understand if the game would be, you know, just completely linear. Like, it wouldn't be the best game, but it would at least be consistent.
It is the definition of linear. I don't understand how you're able to sit through this 11 chapters alone. It's a straight line every level.
I don't even know how. You know, I picked up Final Fantasy 13 too, though. You know, because I was just like, I can give it. This actually looks like it might actually be open world from the beginning, and it might actually be fun.
Were you wrong?
It actually was fun. I actually beat that game.
Huh.
Like, I went to the end, and you know, the battling system, and you know, it was very fun because you can sort of like recruit what you're fighting, you know, and get them to work for you, and then upgrade them and everything.
Yeah.
You know, and I had a really awesome team, and it was just a lot more like, it's not like they had a bad combat system in play. It's just like the exploration, everything else was kind of eh. I didn't like the story of Final Fantasy 13 too was just kind of I don't even understand it, but the gameplay was fun.
Yeah.
I wasn't playing it for the story at all.
Like I personally I enjoyed Final Fantasy 12. I liked that one, but there was something like there was protagonist confusion as far as I was concerned.
Yeah. Kind of like how with 10 people they made Tidus the main protagonist even though Yuna had the more interesting story.
Yeah.
Well, for me it was I stopped at 7, skipped over 8 because that one just looked stupid. And then I went on to 9 and I'm playing that one right now and it's actually pretty fun.
9 is I love 9 so much. 9's my favorite.
To give you an idea of where I am, I have just gotten to the second disc where they're trying to bring back Blank.
Oh, you're gonna have fun later.
Yeah, which I have to admit is kind of my same problem with, that one other character from Attack on Titan where it's like, am I supposed to care?
Yeah.
But I kind of wanted to bring this up in that I feel that Square Enix is kind of turning into Sonic Team in that they have this one franchise that they know makes money, so they don't do any more experimenting.
I'm going to ask a question.
Okay, Casey, I'm going to ask you this. Name one game post-Dreamcast era that Sonic Team did that didn't involve Sonic somehow.
They're named Sonic Team, mate. You might remember that. That's the franchise that they work on. And
you might also remember Samba de Amigo, let's see, Nights into Dreams.
Okay, so they fucked around sometimes, but their focus is always going to be Sonic because they're fucking Sonic Team.
Yes, and they made some really interesting games outside of Sonic, and I'd like to see them
really
do some
sell
more.
very well.
But they were still good.
But they didn't sell.
It's all
kind of where it all goes.
Thing.
Yeah. I'm surprised Sonic survived Sonic 2006, though.
Oh, those games still sell. Unleashed sold pretty well.
Yeah.
So did Generation. Generations was a good game.
Yeah,
I'm actually looking forward to Lost World because they've been. It looks like Sonic Team is actually getting back. Like they're getting their mojo. They're actually. Yeah.
To me, it looks like what Sonic Extreme would have been if it had actually been interesting and good.
Yeah. If it had actually been, there.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring up a question while we're on the Final Fantasy subject thing. Has anyone ever played the game Legend of the Dragoon for PlayStation 1?
The name sounds familiar.
It's basic. It's like another company. I forget. I think Sony is the one that made it. It's like Final Fantasy. If you never played it, I suggest you do. It's fucking great.
Yeah. But, I mean, Final Fantasy VIII, there was just a lot of things that I could not tolerate.
Well, what did you not like about it? Like, just tell me. I want to know, because I played it, I beat it. Tell me.
Okay, it was mostly just a lot of the things that happened in the plot. Like, a good example of something that I found completely egregious was...
I want to hear it.
the entire train mission, I thought was just stupid.
You mean the one where they had to steal that dude's train and...
Yeah, the president who turned out to be a decoy, who turned into a zombie, who they killed by casting Cure on it.
Let's see, another thing I didn't like was...
Also Triple Triad.
Triple Triad.
That stupid card game.
Oh, yes. Fuck that game. The 1 in 9 is easier to understand than that shit. I can't play that
I don't
game.
even play the 1 in 9. Until it becomes plot relevant, I'm not playing it.
You should get practice at it when it becomes plot relevant. Like,
oh god, it's becoming plot relevant. Thank you.
You have to do it. You have to do it once. You have to play it at least one time. So you should probably try.
Okay. I mean, I'm decent at it, but there's still a few things that just seem a bit arbitrary to me. But whatever. I guess I'll hold on to 5 cards.
Yeah, it's easy enough. Like it's arbitrary, but it's like I don't understand there's things I understand, but it's easy enough to just bum it and just like. Let's see. The thing I didn't like about 8 more than anything else is Squall, basically, like, they made him the leader of Seed.
King, do you want to try and tell us something about chocobo breeding?
No.
Oh. Okay, well, I'm just curious why you brought up chocobos in the chat.
Because he's bored.
Just gonna sit here quietly with my chocobo.
Okay.
I think I'm a little bit more bored. I know nothing about Final Fantasy.
Imagine how I felt last week.
Yeah, all right, fair enough.
Persona. I wanted to talk about Persona, but I knew nothing.
The tables have turned.
Also, in Final Fantasy VIII, I could relate to none of the characters because they were all assholes.
Also, please stop hitting the desk.
Sorry. But, yeah, I think that's all I have to say.
Yeah, one more thing. In 8, it was ridiculously easy to level grind after you got control of Seed.
Oh, I almost forgot drawing magic.
Yeah. That's the worst system. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah, I am too.
I heard.
Yeah,
When I heard drawing magic, I thought of symbology from Star Ocean.
No, basically the thing was you had to. Well, first of all, the entire GF system was basically like every character, in order to be slightly tough, you had to give them a gigantic monster that would level up on its own through fighting, and that was the only way you could make any character even halfway decent and relevant. I never used limit breaks in that game. I don't remember using a single limit break throughout that whole game, which is ridiculous because I thought Squalls was kind of cool, and I never got to learn how to use it right. But drawing magic was basically you fight an enemy, and you had an option of your magic. You had to steal magic from them. You get like shots, like you had bullets, and you'd take like cure from an enemy, and you'd have like 3 or 4 cures, and you have to keep replenishing it instead of magic power. Type.
Casey, what are you doing?
They're typing. He's typing the Rickroll song.
I have nothing to add to this conversation.
Okay, let's change it. Let's go ahead and go on to fanfiction tropes then.
Okay.
Whatever.
Just,
I like how our roles have kind of reversed. Like, you're starting to become the really weird one, and I'm more the grounded, tired one.
It's the power that comes with recording.
Yeah. I think it's also the fact that I'm just exhausted and kind of want to get this over with.
All right. Tropes.
Okay, so what would... Oh, yeah, the fanfiction tropes thing. He's still going. Okay, that's not me anymore. Just for the record, Zero's just kind of taking over.
Well, at least we can't hear him anymore.
Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down.
Me and my big fucking mouth. Anyway.
Never gonna run around and desert you. Never gonna make you cry. Never gonna say goodbye. Never gonna tell a lie and hurt you.
Casey, if you would please.
Okay, what am I doing?
Fanfiction tropes.
Right, okay. Alright, so do we want to just tropes in general, or like fic types, or why?
Tropes in general.
Alright. Well,
there aren't a lot of those.
We already jumped on gratuitous Japanese earlier. That's one we did already.
That's true.
You want to just cut the episode here?
No, we can keep going for a little bit. It's just that it's not exactly listed in tropes. It's more listed in types of fics and how they're formatted.
Well, I mean, I kind of have stuff I need to get to. And so,
Well, since you're the one that's recording,
yeah.
I guess we're going to have to cut it here. We could always come back to this next week.
Yeah, how about you just, cut out all this... I'll send you this in a day or so, and you can just cut out all the stuff that sounds really bland or just...
Monday.
Dull. Yeah, or just gets off topic in the worst kind of way.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I barely cut this.
Final Fantasy.
We should probably learn to cut.
No, I know how to cut. I just don't do it very often because I'm only going to get rid of stuff that's really completely boring and not worth listening to.
Okay, whatever.
That Rickroll thing was funny. You can't deny that.
Mm-hmm.
So
you're probably going to cut this out, though.
probably,
All right.
Of course he is.
but only because it's like
We're talking about how we're going to end the show. He's going to cut that out.
Yeah. So how about we go ahead and say goodbye, Casey, if you would.
All right, so this was episode 5 of the Fandom Flux podcast. Thank you for listening. If you want to get in touch with us, you can do so through the comments on the Blogspot page, or through our Twitter at Fandom Flux, or you could get through to our personal Twitters. We have them. I forget what most of them are, but you could probably.
I invented a King of Zero X Twitter.
Okay.
I'm just off the grid altogether.
Mm.
Or you could get through to us through PMs on fanfiction.net if you really, really feel like it and you want to be a little bit intrusive. I think that covers it.
Okay.
So, thanks for listening.
Bye.